But not just a blanket. You can't hold it like even though I chose to accept what I consider myself lying. I know you want to go when I well, that's my first. I got that
I work for me. I've had to have it only lasts for 2 years.
He's looking different. All right. Because it wasn't a painting job.
They actually can't. Those kind of unions are different than working like a plant. You're working through an international
He's like, yeah, it would have
So the one that's empty is short.
yeah, I wrote up.
Really?
So the only one that was actually
Good morning, everyone. Please stand. May we be blessed with the spirit of the season, which is peace, the gladness of the season, which is hope, and the heart of the season, which is love. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
They call the meeting to order at 10:04. First thing we need to do is approve minutes from previous meeting.
I'll move to approve.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. At this time, is there any public comment on agenda items only? Seeing that there is none. We'll move to, we have a number of very important retirements that we want to acknowledge today. And a lot of years of knowledge and understanding of how the county functions is going to go out the door in the next 10 days. And it's important that we recognize a number of folks this morning.
So 2.1 would be John Yingling.
Mr. Yingling, good morning. Good morning, sir. John, I've only gotten to know you over the last 4 years, but it's been a pleasure to work with you. The way that you care for all of the county and the emergency services, you know, your preparation, being prepared for things that we hope never happen, the way you run your department, it's commendable. I don't think I could say enough good things about you, but it's certainly been a pleasure on my side to have the privilege to know you and work with you.
Thank you, sir.
No, I would echo that. I know you're going to go from being 24/7 all the time, because basically that's what your job is. You're always on call, whether it's to receive a call or if there's a flood or some other problem. So to go from 24/7 to, what's it going to be?
Well, I've already have more people making commitments. I'm still going to be active in emergency. I'll still continue to be active in emergency management at the local level, still be assisting the county's EOC, reconnecting with the fire company, the Nipponos Valley Fire Company I belong to, church community and otherwise. So everyone I've talked to says in retirement you're usually busier than you were when you worked full time. And I'm seeing that already holding true before that date, that benchmark has been hit.
Well, I just want to say also thank you. Thank you
Thank
for
you,
all the education you've given me about public safety in the county to help me do my job, and I appreciate that very much and what you've given our community.
Thank you.
And likewise here, and probably not to exceed 1,000 hours. But anyway, as a small token, from the commissioners, we got you a little trophy. And that trophy showed 3 men holding up the world, and it's our part of the world. You played a significant role, and one that really difficult to manage for the safety of our residents, our employees, us in general. You've done an incredible job. One thing that the public does not know is how prepared Lycoming County is for many different events. And it's because of you. And obviously, a whole lot of staff that goes along with that.
It is a
John,
team effort.
we're very proud of you for what you've accomplished.
Thank you. Again, we live in a dynamic world. Some things remain the same, but things change in terms of threats. Technology changes how to deal with those procedures, and we always try to look for best practices. But again, I really credit the folks from DPS, the first responders, and the whole public safety and service community for together, they make it work.
And scripted on that, we asked your staff and some other people, describe John Newman in one word. We have some different words.
Probably some of you don't want to put on the bumper sticker.
I'm not sure what eye candy means, but regardless. Dedicated was one of them as well, I'm for sure you will.
Thank you.
We'll give you the opportunity for
I
any...
just again want to say it's been a pleasure to serve the county for 30 years. Looking forward to continue in maybe a varied or different role. Again, the county tries its best to be prepared in terms of planning, preparedness, working with the planning department who oversees the mitigation. That's a continued process and loop, and just proud of everybody that works in the system and wishing all a safe and happy and prosperous future. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, John. If you can come forward, John.
It's breakable, so it's not, thank you, sir. This one. Steps you want to get Mike,
Do we
you folks
have
want to come up for?
Public safety team here?
John, picture back, please.
And they call me obsessive. Thank you, ma'am. Gentlemen, you want to come up at all for Donna? Scott? Come on this side.
Come on, he wants you. He needs you.
Give him a guy look. We have a water.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next, we have 2.2, Fran Mcjunkin.
Right. Yeah, Kurt, please.
Good morning, Commissioners. It's my pleasure to be able to be here today to say a few things about Fran's career with Lycoming County. Fran began working with DPS at the Department of Public Safety in 1981, and she was a grants writer there till 1984. A lot of people don't know that. A lot of people just know that Fran worked for the planning department. She left to join the private sector in '84, but in 2005, she interviewed for the hazard reduction planner with Jerry Walls and I. I was deputy director at the time, and of course Jerry was director. And when we interviewed Fran, one of the things that we noted was she didn't have any experience in hazard reduction, but that's not unusual because there really aren't schools that teach hazard reduction planning. And so that wasn't unusual, but she had what we were looking for, and that was the ability and desire to be a team player and a can-do attitude. And we knew that when we hired Fran, she would succeed at whatever position she was in with Lycoming County, because she had that drive and enthusiasm to do the best that she could do in whatever job she would be in. And that has proven to be very true over the last 15 years that she's worked with the planning department. A couple of the notable things that Fran did with the planning department: she was instrumental in developing the flood warning system for Lycoming County that's still in use today. She fully developed the flood buyout program and brought that to a new level. And probably one of the very notable things is she became a cooperating technical partner with FEMA for the County Risk Map project. The County Risk Map project was updating the county flood maps. And Fran was a cooperating technical partner, which meant she had direct connection to FEMA and worked directly with FEMA, and she ran the project for Lycoming County. That's only a handful of counties in the whole country are cooperating technical partners. And that was due to Fran's relationship with FEMA and her expertise in floodplain management. Fran's recognized as one of the foremost floodplain experts in the state of Pennsylvania. In 2009, Fran became the GIS supervisor. And again, at that time, she didn't have a lot of experience in GIS. She knew GIS from using it in floodplain management, but didn't know all the technical details of floodplain management. But I knew that she had the leadership skills I needed to be the GIS supervisor at the time, and I was confident that she could learn the technical skills, which Fran did. Within a very short time, Fran received a postgraduate certificate from Penn State in GIS, which was, I believe it was within about a year and a half that she received that degree, which showed a real commitment on her part, and then she learned the technical skills needed to be the supervisor. A couple years later, I was called down to the commissioner's office and I was told that assessment was going to be moving from the private sector back under the auspices of the county, and it was coming to my department in the planning department. I thought about it a little bit, and I thought on the organization, and I knew that GIS and assessment work together anyway, even across departments, so it made sense for them to be together within the planning department. And so at that point, I asked Fran if she would like to be the deputy director for GIS and assessment. Again, it was a situation where Fran did not have the assessment knowledge, but she worked very quickly to gain that knowledge, and we were very successful in bringing assessment back into the auspices of Lycoming County, saving hundreds of thousands of dollars a year over what was being paid as a contracted service. So that was very successful. In January of 2019, Fran became the deputy director for the entire department. And as you are aware, as commissioners, I have phased out over the last year as director, and we now, of course, have a new director for the department. But during the time that I was winding down and phasing out as director, Fran stepped up and really helped keep the day-to-day operations running and really keeping the department coordinated and things working very well. And Fran and I have always worked together as a team. And that's where Fran really shines, in her teamwork skills and her ability to build a team. And one of the most important things that Fran has done is she developed the Greater Williamsport Area Levy Partnership. The city, South Williamsport, Old Lycoming have known for several years that work needs to be done on the levy, but nothing was moving until the county helped get involved, and Fran in particular took on that task to get the partnership going and get things in place to start repairs to the levy. And she has been very successful at that and bringing that partnership together. And as you know, things are moving now, and we're well on the path to success with making repairs to the levy. And that's due to Fran and her expertise and her ability to build partnerships. Fran is a past chair of the State Floodplain Managers Association. She was also one of the founders of that association in Pennsylvania. She's a member of the Army Corps Silver Jackets program and was a peer reviewer for FEMA grant applications. And only the top experts in the country, floodplain experts in the country, are selected by FEMA to review grant applications for them. So that was a real honor and attests to her expertise in the field. She's recognized by federal, state, and local officials as an expert in floodplain management. During her time with the county, she never turned down a challenge. During her career, she accepted every challenge with enthusiasm and the drive to do her best. And she's very successful at all of the different roles she played with the county. Fran's retiring is a great loss to Lycoming County government and the residents of Lycoming County, and it's a loss that's going to be felt for years. Her expertise is not going to be easily replaced. And at this time, I would just like to say congratulations to Fran on a well-deserved retirement after a very distinguished career serving the residents of Lycoming County. Thank you.
Wow.
Yes, ma'am.
If I only knew all of that stuff. Commissioners, I would like to say that in 40 years of professional service, whether it was in the private sector or the public sector, there is only one place that I came that I was actual, excuse me. Oh, it's a tear. I have only ever worked for one organization that actually functioned as a team. I have been in the public, I have been professionally in places where you go to training and teamwork is touted, and they say we're a team, and you inevitably, you're the only person on the field when it comes down to it. Coming to Lycoming County and the Planning Department under Jerry Walls and then Kurt, I discovered there are places that actually function. They actually function as a team. Teams are not always they don't always run smoothly. They don't always win, although we win a lot. You know, we're like the winners. But teams also support each other, and I've never felt in this entire time like I was alone, like I didn't have support, whether it was from boards of commissioners to the directors to staff. And this is a county that has no peer across the country, and I am very proud that I've had this time, and I will stop crying now.
Fran, it has been a pleasure to work with you. In particular, I think the levy project put in a lot of time with you. Your department is a winner because you guys are always prepared. You do the homework. You've got the passion to keep on, plugging away at it until you get to where you want to be. I thank you. For certain, a lot of what Kurt said, the county is in this region is losing an asset and a bundle of knowledge on the floodplain management and all things related to water. It's our loss, but I do think the one thing I've seen you do is the training that you've been trying to prepare those in your department for your departure, and working closely with Chelsea, getting her ready to assume some of the responsibilities that you've had. So I thank you, and it's been my pleasure to work with you as well.
Fran, what you've done with the levee is, the levee's going to get fixed. The levee's a wall, it's going to get fixed. But what you've done with the people, and with the people in the community, in terms of helping them see what happens when they come together in a partnership, that is irreplaceable. Because that's going to translate into so many other things we have to do in this county, whether it's fire, police, whatever. It's going to be an example of being able to point to 5 or 6 municipalities that came together, and it was your leadership that did that. So we thank you for that, because that's a gift you've given us that's going to stay with us a long time, and it's something you should be real proud of.
Kurt gave you very compliments there, and I think probably, when you stand in front of this camera, he just raised your stock in the private sector. But I remember back in 2012 when I think I was in Vermont skiing, and we heard about the bigger waters, and I had called you. I said, we need to get a town hall meeting, 3, 4, whatever we need to do, and get the congressmen to attend these town hall meetings, because this is going to be devastating to our community. We did that by phone. By the time I got back in the next 3 days, she had 4 town hall meetings set up, and no excuses from the congressman. You're attending because this is what needs to be said. That's when I first knew who Fran Mcjunkin was. You get things done. Fran, you also received a little trophy, and we call it the
Participation
I was
trophy.
looking for the Claret Judge. If anybody plays golf, it's one of the most prestigious trophies you can earn. Now yours happens to have 2 handles. There's just one, so yours is even more special. But when we asked the question about, give me your definition of Fran in one word, somebody said chameleon. I thought, what? Chameleon? He said, yeah. You take on a new project every year, is what they said. whether it be speaking a new language, crocheting, or your handbags. It just tells you what type of person you are. You're kind of like a workaholic, and but it's always productive. From me, all of us here, you will be missed, and I'm sure that we'll be able to give you a call if we need your help in the future. Thanks for your service.
You're welcome.
You know, Fran, following up on what Commissioner Macer said, what people don't realize is that the meetings you had here, people don't realize that Bigger Waters was amended, which is absolutely incredible, right? That Congress passed a bill. Now, we weren't the only community having meetings, but the fact of the matter is that Congressman Marino went back to Washington, and along with Maxine Waters in California and others, they amended that bill so that the incredibly deafening, killing rates would not take effect. And those meetings that you had that Commissioner Macer mentioned were part of that effort. It's very unusual to have Congress reverse within 2 or 3 weeks, so you should feel good about that also.
Thank you.
If you please come forward.
Planning. Yeah, it is a family, so. Kelsey.
Yes, ma'am.
John. Sal. Austin.
All a bunch of us. Have to get some in front,
Yeah.
Wow.
He's joking.
Oh, no. You broke it, Kevin, you broke it.
Just slide it over, and the thing that says camera
I think I've got it now. Your picture's better. Yeah. I got everything. Everybody's there.
Let's go.
She didn't have anything to do it. I'll do it. And before we get to the end. Yeah. No, I got it. Okay.
Everything okay? Do you want me to- Ready? Okay. All right, next we have 2.3, Kenneth Ossico.
Ken, 40-plus years. I mean, how can the county say thank you enough to somebody that is committed, you know, a lifetime of service to the to the county, the protection of the citizens of the county. It's been wonderful working with you the last 4 years. As a resident of the community, appreciate everything you've done to help make Lycoming County a safer place to live. And I thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ken, how many DAs did you work with?
Leave 7, 6 or 7.
Yeah. And it's probably safe to say that with all of them, you were doing more than a lion's share of the work. Ken is one of the quiet folks that people don't really know in the community, but who have worked tirelessly for 42 years?
Almost 44. January will be 44.
44 years, keeping us safe, and people don't even know who he is. And he doesn't seek the fanfare, he doesn't seek the glamour, but what you do is you've worked tirelessly to make sure that people who commit heinous crimes are prevented from hurting other people, and for trying to deliver justice. So for that, we do thank you, Ken, very much. And we hope today that some people will know your name and will know what you've given with 44 years of service.
One thing I can say is that when, we try to do a little bit of research from the commissioner's standpoint on certain issues that face our county, we'll talk to anybody, basically. And we called up a past district attorney and said, what do you think about this? Now, this is going back to the Tom Marino years. And he's not the only one, okay, that if you want the most intelligent man about law in the county, talk to Ken. When you hear that from so many of your peers, that's what everybody, that's what the community, that's what your peers believe. That your service, your knowledge, okay, was nothing short of brilliant for this county. I will also say that we changed our policy on our retirement clocks. One, because of you. Because you were an elected official, somehow a man that had 40-some years of service wasn't permitted to get a clock? No. So we scrapped that whole policy and said this is at the discretion of the commissioners, because outstanding service, regardless, needs to be rewarded. And thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you want comments?
I'd like to make it.
Yes.
I was afraid of that.
I said I could speak just one time, and since he's law enforcement, and I wanted to speak about Suzanne and all my other fellow row officers, it's kind of bittersweet today because I think we lose more row officers with this new term than we've ever lost at one time. Can I go back 44 years? I can tell you as a young officer and as a young detective, I was fortunate. Back then, maybe I didn't think it because we would spar at times, imagine that. But I was fortunate to learn how to prosecute because of that guy. I learned how to use, believe it or not, now you won't believe this, I learned how to use brevity in affidavits. I learned how to use strategy. I learned how to be able to maximize my ability to prosecute some pretty bad people. This man will forget more than most of us will ever know as far as law, and you mentioned it, Commissioner Macera. He's phenomenal when it comes to being a bookworm. The old saying was, if you're one of the fine KO, go to law library. He did that not just for myself, but for the major cases that came into this county, and he was the nuts and bolts behind, and I have 6, D.A. Keyser, D.A. Brown, D.A. Feast, D.A. Dinges, D.A. Marino, D.A. Lenhart. He was clearly the brain trust behind key decisions when it came to appellate court appeals, and it came to strategy and getting convictions for some extremely dangerous and bad people in this county for decades, and the number is it would be mind-boggling if we had it. So what we lose in him as far as his ability to train and not just prosecute as a prosecutor, but to help nurture the officers on the street to come in and have cases. You know, you build a case and then you lose it in a trial because something happened with the technicality issue. We've been very, very blessed. And we're certainly going to miss him because you can always pick that phone up and call him. When I talk about issues with the state, I work with you three on, and talk about some of the legal stuff that they throw at us. He's the guy I call and say, you know, what do you think? What should we do? Or, you know, what should we read? He's going to be a great loss, and I'm very pleased to have known him and have worked with him for so many years. So, thank you. See, that wasn't too bad. Thank you.
Used to have a policy in my office that if Mark called after 4 o'clock, not to put him through.
Now, there you go. I tried.
Do you think we could try maybe the break in the email?
Yeah, really.
You're out of order.
It has been my pleasure to work for the county for nearly 44 years, most of that time in the office of the district attorney. Whatever success I've achieved and the office has achieved over that time could not have been accomplished without the dedicated and hardworking staff of the office of the district attorney, as well as the untiring and ceaseless efforts of law enforcement to bring to justice those who had committed crimes, whether small or major crimes. Law enforcement always recognized that no matter the type of crime, there were victims involved, and those victims, whether it was a petty crime or a major crime, deserve to have justice achieved for their loss, as they suffered some harm for whatever the crime was. And again, I would like to thank the staff of the office of the district attorney, as well as the dedicated, as I've indicated, dedicated and untiring and ceaseless efforts of law enforcement.
Thank you, Ken.
Could the office come up? We want to take an opportunity at this time to recognize Kathy Reinhardt. She is leaving the Register and Recorder's office after a lot of years. And I'm not exactly sure, I know it's a lot, but I'm 27 years.
She just, this wasn't her cup of tea, and but we do want to give a tip of the hat to Kathy and thank her for her commitment to her department and to the people of Lycoming County for so many years, and wish her well in whatever she decides to do next. I don't know if anyone...
Kathy was another person who in addition to being an elected official, had worked for decades as an employee, and we have a clock for her too, because it's the same feeling of recognition that we wanted to extend to her for the work she's done on behalf of all the folks in the county.
Chairman said it best. She was a quiet leader. She had a tremendous amount of knowledge in the department. I'm not sure if we'll get it back. And it is a critical department of the county. I will personally thank her for her service and her dedication to the county. Yeah, it just sounds like a broken record, the dedication and everything. But that's what the employees of this county are. They're dedicated servants to the citizens of Lycoming County. It's the same story over and over. And that's why Lycoming County is recognized by so many state officials and actual federal officials as well. So Kathy, we appreciate your service.
And then Suzanne Fadeli.
Good morning, ma'am.
I know you think that I like to talk all the time, but I really didn't come prepared to talk a lot, so go for it.
Introduce the gentleman that was sitting to your
Oh, the
right.
gentleman that's sitting to my right is my father. He's 94 and a half years old. He has been my strength and support. My strength and support.
Wow, amazing. Well, thank you, Suzanne. I have only gotten to know you over the last 4 years, and I think you've been you were the pathonetary for eight years, two terms, yes. And prior to that, you
31 years in the pathonetary's office, as 28 of those as the deputy pathonetary. And I have a little tiny quip. Ken Ossico, is he still here?
Yes.
Ken Ossico, when I first came here, I came under the CEDAR program. Most of you guys don't know that. I actually worked 40 years here because the first 2 years I was here, I was under the CEDAR program and worked in the DA's office, first under Judge Keyser, who was a DA, and then Ken Brown. And Ken Ossico was my boss. I typed up all his motions and petitions and orders and briefs to the court and so forth. And I used to think, he didn't know this, but under my breath I thought, why the heck didn't he become a doctor? Because he just had terrible penmanship. But he was a great person, and ditto for what Mark also said and other people. This man is a genius when it comes to law. Whenever you needed a question answered, something that you didn't want to have to go to your solicitor, or you didn't want to have to run down to the law library, you called Ken Ossico. Ken, what's the law on this? And he had it up here immediately. You didn't have to run around and waste time. He is definitely going to be a loss to this county as far as his legal background, because he is a genius in law, and I enjoyed working with him.
Well, we thank you for your service for so many years. Pathonetary's office is very important to, not only the public, but to the function of the courts and those that rely on documents that come and go from the courts area. We hope that, or I hope that you have a wonderful retirement and do something fun and enjoy yourself. Thank you.
Suzanne, we do thank you. I mean, it's sometimes not an easy job being there. People come in and they want things, and sometimes they don't understand why they can't necessarily have them that way. but you certainly have, I know that CETA program. I think I wasn't a CETA employee here, but I was Comprehensive Employment Training Act, and you're giving your age away.
I know.
But seriously, hopefully you will enjoy your retirement and go away with good memories. You've made a big contribution to the county, both as an employee there and also as the Pythonotarian. On behalf of the people, we want to say thank you.
You know, you and I took office in the same year, and my office is right over there in the corner, and her office is right across the alley. And, you know, it takes a while. We're all a little bit confused. We're not sure what our roles are. We have to learn. And so there were many, many, many nights that I was up there in my first, 2 years. And who comes out the door at 7, 8 o'clock at night? Susan. She was there. And she worked like that for a very long time. I haven't seen you come out the door late, because I haven't been there as long in my office.
I'm kind of like weaning myself off to not having to work anymore.
But I said to her, I said, Susan, you need to delegate more duties to your staff. And this was her response. I need you to look through my windows, tell me what my staff are doing. I can't delegate any more to them. They work lunches, they work hard. And I did look. And it's probably one of the most productive offices in the county. And I don't, there's a lot of productive. But these people, you can't go into her office and see anybody even eating. They work every second of the day. And they represented you well, and you them as well. So thanks for your service.
Thank you. I just have a couple things I want to say.
Sure.
Just to kind of bring you up to date. First of all, it's funny how turn of events brings you to a place that you never expect to be. Most of you don't know, but some of you do know that I basically was an opera singer. I studied at Mansfield University and also at Juilliard School of Music and Opera Performance. But when I used to drive down the street with my mother as a high school student, I used to watch the people the ladies coming out of the old courthouse. And they were always dressed up in really nice business suits and their pumps and all that. And I used to tell my mother, Mom, if I don't become an opera singer or I don't get famous, I wouldn't mind working in the courthouse. Would you believe? I never thought I'd be retiring from the courthouse. I thought I'd be retiring from maybe Santa Fe Opera, New York City Opera, and here I am 40 years later retiring from the very place I told my mother I wouldn't mind working, never thinking I'd be here 40 years. That said, though, when I came into office, I came in with Tom Dempsey, and then Bill Bird became my boss, and I worked for him as his deputy for 28 years. When I took office in 2012, I upgraded our civil records management program from a DOS program that we had carried from 1983 to 2012 because the county wanted to move forward out of DOS into Word so that we could do electronic filing. My only regret while I was in those 8 years of office is that we didn't get a chance to get the electronic filing, but we did update that system. Everything that was done before I came to office was done manually. All the ledgering, all of the financials, everything was done manually on paper. Everything now is computerized, and we also scan documents in hopes to get rid of some of the files that we have, but we aren't able to do that until county at some point will adopt PDFA because we have to have an archival record and a working record. And right now, even with the scanning, we only have a working record. Hopefully the next person's going to be able to accomplish that. So other than that one thing, and electronic filing is the only thing I think that I didn't get a chance to do, and I regret that, but time and money didn't allow for that to happen. So that the next guy can take care of that. But I just wanted to say that I never expected to be in this position. If someone asked me in high school or even 20 years after that, do you think you'll ever be in, would you ever consider going into politics? I'd say, are you out of your mind? My job isn't political. It is only because that's how it has to be, so, to get to be that person. But I've tried to compromise as best I can. I've tried to speak with the courts as best I can. And as Rick says, we do get a lot of people in there. And through the years, I've seen people get meaner and meaner. Everybody wants more, and they can't. There's only so many things we can do. I've always been a by-the-book person. I follow the rules, and I don't make exceptions very often. Some people will call that a strength. Some people say, oh, she should be a little bit easier on people. I've never been a quiet leader. And I'm sure all three of you will agree with that. I'm not a quiet leader. I say what I mean. I compromise where I can. And I've often said, people say, what does a prothonotary do? Let me put it this way. If it wasn't for the prothonotary and its dual office, clerk of court's office, there would be no second floor and no need for a district attorney's office, because we process all their paperwork, and if my staff doesn't get it done accurately and timely, there would have been chaos up there. So I consider my office in the court system one of the most important, because we support them and it's our job to do it. And I've had a wonderful staff. I've had changes here and there, but everybody in my office, as Tony says, they do their job, and they do their job well, and they get things out quickly. They really do. We might miss a file here and there, but they really do work hard. And my other statement I always make is they work from morning to break, to lunch to break, and they go home. They don't really have a whole lot of time to capits and all that kind of stuff. So without them, they're my team, and trust me, I'm at the head of that team, but without them, that office would not run as efficiently as it does, and we would not have been able to do the job that we've done in the years I've been there. That said, I just have a short little thing that I want to read to you. This is something that was given to me day one, if I can get through it without crying, like Fran. It's called the Public Servant Prayer, and I keep this on my desk, and every morning before I begin my job, I read this prayer. Dear God, you call me to a life of public service. I find that the way is often narrow and steep. Illumine my path, O Lord, so that your light guides me and those who follow. There will be darts of criticism and misunderstanding. Protect my heart from bitterness and hardness. There will be times of great victory and adulation. Be my focus so that I do not stumble over misplaced pride or false modesty. May I begin each day with a ready spirit, and each evening feel your pleasure in a day well lived, pleased by the fulcrum that finds and keeps the delicate balance between my personal and professional roles. Eternal God, I give you thanks from a grateful heart for the fellowship we share this day, for the bonds which unite us in a shared purpose, and for the hopes we have as we work together for the good of the prothonotarians and clerks of court association. And when my service is complete, may your approval be the measure of my success as I remain faithful to the calling of being a public servant.
That was beautiful. That was beautiful. Drop that off in my office. So, and I will say that, that's one of the reasons why I love being a commissioner, because I can throw out a rule and create a new one so you can get a clock.
There you go.
Suzanne, if you please come forward.
Yes. Oh, by the way, everybody, my husband's in the back too. That's Frank. Come on. Gee, I never had a picture taken with so many good-looking men. Took me 40 years.
Can we get one with your dad in here too?
Sure. Sure, my dad.
Well, I struggle at it.
Yeah. Okay.
She shares with them.
There you go.
Yep.
How about you
how about how about our staff too?
My
Well,
staff,
maybe,
hey, guys.
maybe we could do one with your dad, and then we'll do the whole
Okay,
staff.
all right.
So your dad.
Got it? Ready? All right, and staff. Huh? Yeah.
Can she get everybody? Can you get everybody? Yeah.
Ready? One more. All right.
Dad, thank you.
It was ringing, I hit ignore.
Before we move on in the agenda, I know if we were on a football field, I think the official would probably throw a flag on me on this next one, but you know, we've just recognized a lot of talent that is leaving the county, and you know, although I know the name's not on here, not on the agenda, and individual really didn't care to get recognized, Ann Garrett's leaving as the Director of Human Resources after many years, many decades.
Yes.
And, you know, the county could not function in any way, and the employees, you know, everything starts day one in the HR department. And you've been the leader there for many years. And during the course of your time, I know you served in a couple of different areas within the county, and one of those happened to be as the Director of Administration for the Commissioners. But we certainly appreciate your dedication to the county, and we wanted to acknowledge that, and not try to embarrass you, but
Thank you.
just acknowledge that you are leaving, and we are losing a lot of knowledge there as well.
In fact,
Thank you, Commissioner.
you know, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to amend the agenda today and add 2.6, which is Ann Garrett's retirement, because you have been with the county for 36 years?
30, well, actually, probably, I think, because I worked here prior and then came back, so it would actually be like 41 years.
41 years.
I
Yeah.
think.
And how many in the HR department?
Oh my gosh. I think 30.
And you also...
Go back and think about that. It's been so long.
I know. But you also had the confidence of a prior Board of Commissioners that when one of the directors became ill and they needed someone to come in as the director on short notice, they asked you and you stepped up. You stepped up and you did that job as Director of Administration, Chief Clerk, as well as HR. And I just think it's important for the public to recognize the years you've given and also the institutional history that you have about the county, and that you've been able to share that with us, not just us as new commissioners, but prior new commissioners who have come. So anyway, Mr. Chairman, I have a motion there. I would like the record to reflect that, if that's a...
I'll second that motion.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. The agenda is amended.
So
you.
we want to wish you good luck in your retirement. We hope that you'll be available to help the community
Okay.
with your leadership, and we hope that you'll enjoy the rest of your years.
Thank you. I hope to. And
You know, I have a lot of stories.
I have a few.
So, we have a boxing glove stories where one day we were in a meeting and Ann was so mad. And I mean, she scared me.
Oh.
And I said, the next day I brought in my pair of boxing gloves, signed by two of my favorite fighters, you know, Joe Frazier and Larry Holmes. I gave them to Ann and I said, Ann, before you look at me like that again, put these on and you can whack me as much as you want. And then she brought me in something else, I won't say what it was. But, Ann, you also received a trophy.
Yes, I did.
And it was a tower, and there was a world on top of that as well. And we asked the same question. And there was one description that stood out, and it was Mom. When you look at a mother, it's the strongest person ever. They represent so much. No one could have described you better than that.
Oh, thank you.
So, thanks for your service.
Thank you. It's been, I've learned a lot. I've worked for a lot of wonderful people and mentors. And I've just recently been so humble because the people that have been sending me cards and notes and emails and coming in to see me personally and wish me really has warmed my heart, because some of them I actually, was surprised that they came in and said, you've helped me, or I really enjoyed working with you. And that, you don't think about that. You're here, you're doing a job, you do what needs to be done. You don't make everybody happy all the time, but that just set it all for me. So I really enjoyed my time in the county. I wish everyone well, and happy holidays to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pardon me? Oh. Surprise. Thank you. They are actually setting up for the
For the luncheons,
and
the
they
employee
come
luncheons,
down
okay,
to,
yes.
so-
We have employee holiday luncheons today, so they're...
25 minutes.
Not in.
Thank you so much. Thanks. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioners.
Take Whitney. Okay, we'll deal with that. Okay. Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right. To,
Personnel
oh,
action.
wait, yes.
And Ann Garrett is going to present 4.1,
Yes.
approved personnel action report.
Okay. Yes, this is my last meeting, actually. So, okay. In the assessment office, Cindy M. Black as a full-time replacement clerk 3. It's a pay grade 4. $13.95 an hour, and the effective date is 1/6/2020.
Let's just we'll run through them all.
All?
Yeah.
Want me to do them all?
Okay.
Okay. In DPS / communications, Clinton W. Frackman, full-time replacement telecommunicator 1. Without experience, it's a pay grade 6. $16.59 an hour. The effective date is 1/6/2020. In human resources, it's Roxanne Greco as a promotion for full-time replacement director of human resources. $90,261.59, and the effective date is 1/12/20. RMS transfer station, it's Jimmy C. Bennett as a full-time replacement transfer station supervisor, pay grade 7, $18.08 per hour. The effective date is 1/6/2020. At the prison, Robert Wells is a full-time replacement correctional officer. It's a relief position. It's a pay grade 1, CO1, $17.23 an hour. The effective date is 1/7/2020. And last, in human resources, Lauren Bauer is a promotion full-time replacement deputy director in HR. Salary $57,611.71. The effective date is 1/12/2020.
Thank you. Before I ask for a motion, any discussion, any comments? If not, we'll take a motion on these items.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you very much.
And I want to thank your department. From what I understand, you're going to try to move ahead to see if you can do it with one less person.
Yes.
And I think that's very admirable, and we've told you, if it turns out that it's affecting your ability, let Roxanne and them know if it's affecting their ability to get things done, to tell us. But we really appreciate that you're willing to give that a shot. I know you're looking ahead to when we make the physical move.
Yes.
And you're thinking that some of the duties might be able to be combined. So we appreciate that. That's going to save the taxpayers money.
And I appreciate I know the staff isn't here, but they are outstanding workers. And, I was laughing at Jill. I said, we've worked together so long. If I say, Jill, can you, and she'll say, I already did it. It's like they read my mind. Or if I say, to Karen, the same thing. Karen, she'll go, I already did it. They truly work as a team, and I know, I feel confident that they're gonna go forward with the same attitude, so, and they're gonna try their best to do it.
We wish they could have been here, but they're setting up.
They are getting ready for the luncheon, so that's important. So they're over decorating and setting tables up, so, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ann.
Move to 7.0, the action items. 7.1, approve the appointments to the following Lycoming County boards. 7.1.1, Lycoming County Library System Board, term ending December 31st, 2022. Richard Marabito, Larry Stout, Christine Forsman. Do you want me to go through all?
Yeah, I think we're just doing
Can we do them all?
Absolutely.
Keep going. Okay. 7.1.2, Lycoming County Agricultural Land Preservation Board, term ending December 31st, 2022. Paul Wensler, Dean Busler. 7.1.3, Lycoming County Airport Authority Board, term ending December 31st, 2024. Garth Everett, Michael Reed, Stephen Logue, Tricia Gibbons, Marty. 7.1.4, Lycoming County Industrial Development Authority Board, term ending December 31st, 2024, Jason Vogel. 7.1.5, Lycoming County Water and Sewer Authority Board, term ending December 31st, 2024, Paul Wensler, Jan Ransdorf. 7.1.6, Lycoming County Authority, term ending December 31st, 2024, Brian Shearer. 7.1.7, Lycoming County Zoning Hearing Board, term ending December 31st, 2024, David Hines, Romuald Andreka as an alternate. 7.1.8, Lycoming County Planning Commission, term ending December 31st, 2023, Linda Sosniak and Brett Taylor. 7.1.9, Lycoming County Conservation District, term ending December 31st, 2023, Richard Marabito, Paul Wensler, and Tom Ham. 7.1.10. This is
Yeah, we better,
Yeah.
we'll act on everything up to this point
up
because
to
they're board
7.1.9.
appointments. Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll need a motion.
I'll move to approve the appointments to the following boards as listed in the agenda.
I'll second that and make a comment that there's an alternate in the zoning hearing board. These people that are alternates attend all the meetings. They have to attend because there can be a lot of conflicts within the original board. And they have to be well versed in what's going on. And so although they attend, they may not be able to vote unless there's a conflict. So we appreciate even the alternates applying for this position.
I also want to comment that we made a real effort to try to appoint women to the boards. We had many fewer women applying to be on the boards than men. In fact, I think it's safe to say we had 3 applications from women where we had maybe 15 or so, or 20, actually, more than that, because one of them had from men, and we made a real effort to do that. So I guess the message that we're sending out is that we need women also to apply to be on these boards and to watch the dates. And if they're interested to put in an application, it's always held. The application is held until the time that an opening occurs. So I just wanted to say that on behalf of the board.
And I would add to that these women that were appointed were certainly well qualified.
Absolutely.
For the positions. Grateful that they applied as well.
Thank you,
You
Ed.
might want to point out that almost every year we have openings.
Right. That's why I was saying that people can apply and we'll just hold their application. Good point.
Thank you. We have a motion, second. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries.
7.1.10 is the appointment Leah M. Dawes as interim tax claim director effective January 1st of 2020.
Thank you. This was an item that was overlooked on Tuesday at the work session. We needed to make sure that this was in place because Tom Heaps is moving out of that position and will be moving to the pathonetary position as of beginning of the year. And we wanted to make sure that we had someone here to handle this as soon as the changes were made. So we need a motion.
I'll move to appoint Leah Dawes as the interim tax claim director effective 1/1/2020.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
7.2, Director McDermott approves scholarship program initiative by the Lycoming County Board of Commissioners to assist Lycoming County agencies in obtaining EMS trained personnel.
Commissioners, we added this, we're seeking your approval to formally approve the scholarship program for the EMS reimbursement. That's where folks that are interested in attending an EMS course will be reimbursed 50% of their tuition upon completion of the course and receiving their certifications.
This is something that's been in the works for at least 12 months, maybe 18 months.
Yes. The commissioners have pledged, I believe, $35,000 in the budget towards this initiative as a start, and then we'll see how it goes, and if we need to go beyond that, we'll look at it.
And I would say that the EMS, the volunteer fire departments, everybody feels that this might go a long way into helping solve the shortage of EMS professionals that are out there.
So, and what this is gonna do is basically help our volunteer fire companies, so that, one of the difficulties, and I see Rick Strauss is here, and if you wants to make any comments, I'm sure the
Sure.
chairman would recognize.
Thank you, Commissioners. For those that don't know, I'm president of the EMS Lycoming Council, and we've been working on scholarship to help. It's part of trying to solve the manpower issue. As a few years ago, the rates raised for the classes from around $300 up to $800 to $1,000 per class. So this will help a lot with fire companies getting their personnel trained. Still some other areas to work on to try to get more personnel, which we're trying to work on. But thank you for the scholarship program.
And I think it's important for the public to understand that these are volunteers. So basically, we're saying, will you become a volunteer firefighter or a volunteer EMS personnel? And oh, by the way, it's $1,000 to take the course, or $900. So what this is, it's creating an incentive, and probably we've discussed, I think, using Act 13 money. So it's actually not coming out of the property tax, but it's an incentive for the fire companies to be able to go out and recruit people, and for our citizens to agree to do it. So we thank you for the patience in working on this and the input you've given too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Rich, I sat on the CCAP's task force for EMS, and over our last fall conference, we tallied up everything that we presented, and the next fire chiefs meeting, we will be handing out those booklets, and they give recommendations from the SR6 and the SB 60, okay? But in the back of that is pending legislation. Okay, so it is critical that the chiefs, right, review this. We have all the information for them and see what makes sense, because not every region needs the same thing, okay? But there was one thing that was a common denominator as we were doing our research, and it was funding. And education has skyrocketed, and the hours have increased, and what we're expecting out of our paramedics and our EMS and EMTs are a much bigger level now. We're expecting more out of them, and so the education is tougher, and we realized that we needed to fund or help fund and set up an incentive to do so here in Lycoming County, like Tioga has. Not 100%, but as much as we could afford, and we'll see how the first year runs. You were recognized just statewide, correct?
Yes, in
Yes.
September.
So what was that recognition?
EMT of the year for the state of Pennsylvania.
Of the year for the state of Pennsylvania. We congratulate you.
Thank you very much for being here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Who's the guy in the white shirt? Okay.
Rick's a proud student of Chief Mark Lusk. He came from actually South Williamsport, has been in the business longer than I have, but he's been there as a volunteer every single day, helping as much as he could help. When we had the Great Flood in '96, he was Stroman's employee. I sent him to the roof of Stroman's to rescue people, and I said, we'll come back and get you, and I think the next day we went back and got him. This program, Commissioners, the scholarship program is so important and so beneficial. In the 70s and 80s, as an EMS chief, I had 28 EMTs at Old Lycoming Fire Department. I was very blessed to come up in the service in the 70s and the 80s and into the 90s. Pennsylvania had 300,000 volunteers. The last number I got from the State Fire Academy, as a Fire Academy instructor, I think we're at 36 or 35,000. This has to reverse at some point, or municipalities and government are going to pay an awful lot of money. And if we think we pay a lot of money now, you do the math and you do the percentage decrease, that's 800% plus. The Rick Strausses of the world, the proud EMT of the year, are all over this county. You know, I sit here and I see John Yingling behind me, who's been in the business forever. This is beyond crisis. If you haven't seen it or looked at it, make a note of Senate Resolution number 6. It was a 2-year study, and it was a bipartisan study from all areas of government. And it couldn't overemphasize the crisis we face. And there's not been one thing done with that study. It is, I stand here to say to you, I appreciate what you have done for our volunteers, because we're not getting any younger. You know, I came back, I was inactive for a while, I came back and said, can you please come back? So I'm back helping. But the Mark Lusks and the Rick Strausses and the John Yinglings are not going to be here. Our average age used to be 20, 25 years old when I was a young buck. Our average age is what, John?
It's right around 52 to 54 somewhere.
So what you did here is so helpful, and what you do with CCAP is helpful because the train's coming down the track and it's gonna derail soon, because we just seem to fall on deaf ears with what the state says they do for volunteers. There are some things they do for volunteers, but not nearly what needs to be done to stop this, because the cost is horrendous. So I just wanted to say I appreciate what you've done with this scholarship, because it is really important. So you did a really good thing.
Sheriff, you know what's interesting, and I don't think you mentioned this, that study is not the first study that the House has done.
No, sir.
And I didn't realize this until I was at the recent CCAP conference, and I learned that 20 years ago or so, and John, Mr. Yingley, you can correct me if you know, there was another SR6 or SR, whatever they called it. And that,
60, sir.
Yeah, SR60, right, that identified the same problem and unfortunately the legislature didn't act on it, and now here we are, we've gone from 300,000 volunteers down to about, I think, 36,000.
The first study that I saw, Commissioner, I saw one in the late 70s. So there were studies similar to this that have been ongoing our whole career.
I was Chet Henry, State Fire Commissioner, that did that in 78, 79.
And you're absolutely right, Commissioner. We get the studies, and I'll tell you what happens. The apathy is there, and people just say, you're eventually going to get here. You're eventually going to get here. Well, if you listen to the dispatches, we don't get there as fast as we did before, because you just don't have the people. You catch a daytime fire, you'll hear it. You catch a working fire in the daytime, you'll hear it. A nighttime fire, you'll hear it. EMS calls are here. EMS is you know, the few volunteers we have struggle to do what they do because we have so few folks. You know, look at the crash yesterday. 45 injured, 2 dead on Interstate 80. It took a phenomenal resource of volunteers, and much of that volunteer resource probably came from White Deer and Sugar Valley.
And Lewisburg.
And Lewisburg. So when you think about people that need help, I don't know, other than you going to your CCAP partners and saying, we really need to address this. The time to act is now, and we really need help. So I want to just, again, state my appreciation from the fire service standpoint on what you do with the scholarship.
Thank you. Seven three.
You need the motion to motion.
Oh, we did make that. Didn't we?
No.
Okay, take a motion.
I'll move to approve the scholarship program for the EMS personnel.
I'll second that.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, 7.3 with Beth Johnston, the resolution 2019-24 5-year capital plan.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
hope you don't mind, I brought our Deputy Director of Fiscal to join me today. He's going to present, if that's allowed, I know my name's on there. Jay David says nothing yet, so we're good. Thank you. Okay, so you're-
I had to make sure it was still morning. We've been here for quite a while. So good morning, Commissioners. This has been a long one. It's the last one of the year. The first item we have on the agenda is approving the 5-year capital plan. We would like to recommend final approval of the 5-year capital plan as it stands. It's a list of all the capital requirements that may be undertaken within the next 5 years. The Board of Commissioners and Fiscal Service consider the feasibility of all proposed capital projects, evaluating their necessity, how much they're going to cost, how they're going to be funded, coming up to, an eventual, decision whether or not we're going to move forward. Upon completion and adoption, the 5-year capital plan becomes a guiding framework for investment and project planning into the future.
Thank you. Take a motion.
I move to approve.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
The next item we have is Resolution 2019-25 to approve the 2020 budget. We would like to recommend final approval of the 2020 general operating budget, which is a no tax increase budget again this year for 2020. This budget has been on public display since November 19th, well over our 20-day requirement, and has been adjusted since then to reflect the following changes. Increases in revenue of $498,637. Increases to expenditures of $1,115,018. $494,000 was added to the revenues for the county levy project. That project is funded 63% by a state RACP grant, and the remaining county portion will be covered by our Act 13 funds. $301,000 of expenditure increases are due to 2019 capital project rollovers, so projects that were not completed this year that we still intend to complete are being rolled forward. $36,000 was added for a second central processing center at the Williamsport Police Station, and that project is 100% funded by the fees that are collected by that department. These adjustments all bring the operating budget to the total of $111,454,412. Of that $111 million, $97,156,262 in revenues will offset. $10 million will be covered by a combination of the 2018-2019 bonds and proceeds from Act 13. The remaining $4,298,150 is due almost entirely in part to an increase to the county's health care for the year 2020. And our fund balance will, is more than healthy to cover, any shortfall after the bonds that remains.
And on the health care, I just think it would be, we're budgeting for that increase. And the reason, good part of the reason why we had to budget this high is because we're coming off of probably the worst year that the county has experienced with healthcare claims in a long, long time. And most the insurance companies will say usually you don't get back-to-back years that are that bad. So if we get into a situation next year where, because we're self-insured and we're paying the largest part of the claims, if we get into a situation where we have a good year next year, we might not have to realize what we're budgeting for.
Yes, that's, yeah.
So I think the important thing also to understand, in addition to what the chairman said, is that we can never get away from our claims. I mean, in other words, whether we're self-insured or whether we're insured through a major carrier, the claims are there, and the claims are what drives the need. The fortunate thing, as the chairman noted, is that being self-insured, if we continue to try to work with our employees who we can see stay with us a long time and capture their health needs early on through our wellness program, through our preventative screening. And if you read any of the major literature today, they're really talking about the way to tackle cancer is through preventative screening. And we start to do that early on with our employees, and they're here with us for 20, 25 years. We're going to reap savings, I believe, in the long term. That's our plan, at least, and our goal by being self-insured. It will actually build a workforce and help them stay healthy.
And I think we have to add that the pay increase, employees and staff were, I think it was 2.5% increase. 1% of it was COLA, and I think 1.5% was performance increase. So at the max was 2.5%.
Thank you. Is that all on that?
Unless you have additional comments.
Okay.
So the only other comment that I'd like to make, and it doesn't necessarily have to be in the form of motion, is that I'm hoping we can look in our, we've seen recently sort of some upticks in the jail population. Hope that we can help in implementing the 24/7 program on a fuller basis. That's the program that right now the courts are and the adult probation office is doing sort of with about 15 people through the use of one of the APO officers, and hopefully between getting some changes in the district attorney's office and some other changes, we can see whether we can get a situation under control. We do have some money in the contingency to try to implement the 24/7 in a way that allows more of our DUI offenders to be dealt with on a quicker basis. And that program has been shown nationally to work as a way to have people, when they get a DUI, have sort of a immediate consequence, as opposed to waiting 8 or 9 months before they're brought before a judge. So hopefully we can try to do something with that.
I'd like to add that in our open gov, to the transparency with the fiscal finances of the government, it is a great tool, one that the public can open and use to see how our budget's working over a 5-year period. It's a great tool. If you see the deficit, projected deficit of, what was that, is about 13 point something
million, yeah.
Please understand that it's accounting, governmental accounting. So we received bonds in 18 and 19 that were recorded as income. So that they get reported as a surplus. And we didn't spend the money until 2020. So we can't, it doesn't balance out. In reality it does, okay, but it's going to show as a surplus 1 year and a deficit the next year. The money is there, it's just the way it's reported. So that's the majority of the deficit.
And we're also hopeful that we've done a good job so far of trying to, we've actually been able to scale back 15 positions or so, which saves us close to $1 million a year, and we're gonna try to work early this year on health care and on looking at and monitoring the health care expenditures, see what we can do to get out ahead of that also as a way to keep our budget.
I think plus if you look at the budget and you took away the health care cost, I think we lowered our government spending by 419,000, something like that.
Yep.
You know, it's the healthcare costs that are driving some of these issues that we face.
And you know, I guess at this, we've probably mentioned this before, but, you know, just so the public knows, the employees of the county this year, going into 2020, will be having higher participation costs on a monthly basis. And we've also significantly increased the deductible that they're responsible for, trying to move closer towards what would be a private sector type of plan. So, you know, we've been doing that one step at a time, and there is more participation by the employees. I just want to make one comment on the 24/7 program. I believe in the results that Judge Lavecchio has shown. I'm sure that as the commissioners go into next year, with all the changes that are going on within the county, that you know, they're hopeful that the new district attorney, we've had a number of conversations with him, that he's going to be able to make some changes that will help decrease the number of people that we have in our jail. And I've just, my hesitation on the 24/7 has been just getting a new program started without, you know, looking within the court system, that side of the county, to try to find the savings to fund the program. And, you know, and maybe through working with the district attorney and his plans for, you know, working in that area, that will also assist in keeping the costs down for the taxpayer.
No, you raise a good point, and that's why I stated that there were funds in the contingency, and that maybe what it is it's some sort of pilot program that we also can see as things progress with the DA's office in terms of, and the courts in terms of the trial list and other things, if that frees up additional staff.
At this time, we need a motion on the budget.
I move to approve.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Next item is Resolution 2019-26 to approve the 2020 millage rate. And since this is a no tax increase budget, the millage rate will remain at 6.50 mils for 2020.
Thank you. Need a motion?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye.
I need to add something. So let the public know, today was a good day to start to understand about what it is county government does for its constituents. And when you look at our average now, home is around $140,000, somewhere around there. That's not the assessment. That's what we anticipated to be. We're talking about under $1,000 a household to fund county government, which is getting it from both sides. You know, the state and the federal governments are passing down mandates. They're eliminating some of the funding that they used to give us. Sheriff's Department is one. That's going to be a major problem next year. Them not financing the training that the Sheriff's Department needs. Another example is adult probation. From what they're mandated 80% to pay, now they're only paying 26%. We're also getting pushed from local municipalities to help. They need our help. They need our expertise. And if we don't provide it, then they have to hire individual people. So overall, yeah, you know, would county government increase some? Yes. But if we didn't, how many more people would the taxpayers be paying for? So we're getting squeezed. We're getting sandwiched. And for the less than $1,000 on an average home, you know, it's value. And, you know, I could list so many examples. The levy is one, you know, but we try to do the best we can do with our employees and staff for a decent dollar.
I just one comment on today, the front page of the paper, I think it was the bottom left corner. I didn't get a chance to read the article, but I just kind of shook my head because I think the headline reads, Pennsylvania to work on reducing prison population. You know, that might as well say, Lycoming County, get ready, we're going to send more people your way. So, please.
And I'll just mention that the tax revenue only makes up like approximately 40% of the overall revenue of the county. So we work really hard to get money from state, federal agencies, fees, you know, wherever we can to keep taxes down. So, Resolution 2019-27 will set the predetermined ratio for 2020 at 100%, which is where it has been.
Thank you. Need a motion?
I'll move.
A second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Fiscal Department, for your effort in going through the 2020 budget this year. We greatly appreciate it.
Well, I wanted to say the same for all the department heads and you guys. You guys have been hands-on since it started 6 months ago. That really helps us.
Thank you.
I just wanted the public to know that you guys are definitely hands-on and this budget is your budget.
Thank you. And I would, you know, because we're kind of at this part of the schedule where we're leading into commissioner comment, but this goes back to the fiscal side of things. The other day, Commissioner Macera had mentioned about a comparison to fifth-class counties, and I had asked Brandy to do that a couple weeks ago, and I went back to her the other day, and I said, well, let me see the counties, and then we threw in a couple of fourth-class counties. And without a doubt, when you look at Lycoming County compared to Adams, Blair, Lawrence, Northumberland, Cambria, Center, Beaver, there is nobody that's near us as far as having stable fund balance, which helps to ensure the proper running of our government. And also, you know, you look in the restricted funds and the restricted area, but you know, for us, it's primarily made up of the Act 13 money. You know, we are light years in front of other counties, and I think that says a lot about the fiscal mentality of our department heads and you know, the leadership of the county over the years to put us in that position. So I just want to, you know, again thank the fiscal department for your effort. At this time, under Commissioner comment, I guess I've got a number of things. First of all, being good Catholics, my mother-in-law and my brother-in-law are here, and they've done their penance today. They sat here since 10 o'clock this morning. Sorry about that, but Len and Jean, I appreciate your being here. I think, as everybody knows, this is my last meeting. It's been a pleasure over the last 4 years. I think our team has a lot of accomplishments to be proud of, and some that probably won't be recognized for a while coming down the road. But things that do stick out in my mind is the levy. You know, hopefully, maybe even today or tomorrow, we might hear about the grant that we're anxiously awaiting for. The bridge bundling program, our fund balance, our fiscal management of the county has been good. Community outreach, This team has been out there everywhere. Anytime anybody called for an event and they needed somebody, not only would they get one commissioner, but more than not, they would probably get all three of us. So I'm really proud of what we have been able to do. I would, in parting, one thing that, and I really haven't even mentioned this to Commissioner Massera and Marabito, but give some thought to, as one of the larger employers, I think our responsibility, and I do believe a lot of the people contribute to the United Way, but I was told recently of a program that some companies are starting to institute where the employees, when they're able to bank days, currently we have a program if somebody has a long-term illness, other employees can contribute bank days to help that person out. And there are companies in the area now that are allowing employees to use a bank day to make a donation to the United Way or a good nonprofit. And I think that would be a good opportunity to help somebody that the United Way that has such a broad reach within our community. This morning, because we had to be at our meeting here, we missed an opportunity to attend the leadership or lessons in leadership series, a discussion that was being held over at Penn College this morning, where a Medal of Honor recipient was speaking. And I think this program is I think really being spearheaded by a local organization that I know the Welderoth it has something to do with it, and hats off to those guys for doing this and realizing the importance of our military service members. And I know Larry Stout had mentioned the other day that he was sorry that he couldn't be here, that that's where he was going to be. But I think it would have been an excellent program to have the opportunity to attend. And I do want to let my partners know that I got a text this morning that was an apology from Todd Lauer that he couldn't be here. And he wished us all a very Merry Christmas. And anyhow, those are my comments.
Mr. Chairman, may I have the floor?
Sure.
Okay. This is your last day, and I want to thank you for what you've done. And you named a couple of programs, but actually, and obviously, all three of us have worked on this, but you've been a part of it, and I think it's worth noting for the public. I mean, first of all, just for your personal work ethic, you have been a tireless worker in terms of going back and forth to the fiscal department and asking the fiscal and the HR department, and just the work you've done on the budget and on the health care is going to be missed, because honestly it's in the details, and it's paying attention to the details of the numbers that make so much of this. But also just, you named a couple things, but the work that the three of us have done and that you've been a part of over the last 3 years in terms of what we've accomplished. You mentioned the bridge program. We're going to get 17 bridges in this county repaired that are not county bridges. They're municipal bridges. But, you participated in us taking the initiative to do that. What that means is that the taxes in those municipalities that otherwise would have gone up, the property taxes, are not going to go up. Example, Washington Township, the bridge is going to cost $800,000 to repair. the small number of people in Washington Township would have had to borne that cost, even though other people travel on the bridge. And as a result of the bridge bundling program, those taxpayers are going to pay $40,000, and we're going to use, of course, the $5 fee to pay the balance on the bond. The healthcare self-funding, you know, you've sat in endless meetings with us, with Brenton and others about the funding of the healthcare and just transitioning us from a program to a self-funding program and the cost. On budget control, you've worked with us to reduce 15 positions, saving the taxpayers $1 million a year. The office for the MDJ is not finalized at this point, and there may be some hiccups with it that we've got to work out, but you've been to countless sites with us before this, tracking up and down the steps and through the grounds of many buildings. The 3+1 program. You know, you connected up with the person at the CCAP conference, you brought it back, you pushed it, and you really made it. Leasing cars. We had many battles back and forth over whether to lease cars, but you really pushed leasing cars. You made multiple trips to Washington, D.C. when you could have been home with your wife and your children, and I mean in all seriousness. And we've accomplished a lot. The three of us have accomplished a lot, and you've been a part of it. The Sylvandale, we basically are bringing in over $1 million of state money through the Sylvandale project from DEP and DCED. With all three of us, you know, obviously the live streaming of commissioner meetings, the OpenGov, putting all spending on the internet, Act 13 allotments that we've made, whether it's the Stevens Playground or others. And I'm going to let Commissioner Mercier speak in a minute, but I just want to say thank you. I'm going to truly miss you. I think all of us are going to miss you. And we hope you will not be a stranger and that you'll take, you know, there was an editorial the other day, take the experience you've gotten and, you know, put it to use some other way in the county, providing leadership. And on behalf of the people of this county, I want to say thanks.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Scott, when you come on board, just give me a chance to speak second sometime or first.
I'll be glad to. Matter of fact, I'll look in your direction first.
So, not a whole lot to add to that, but I do have a few things. You know, we attend the same church, and Jack is a faithful person. He's committed to his God and religion, his family, and his community. See him there all the time. Larry Stout said it best, you know. Commissioner Mary Beto and I, sometimes we would clash, and I really felt sorry for you sometimes, Jack, but you're the one that maintained a cool head, and you got us through some of those arguments. I remember his wife coming up to me and saying, you know, about the budget, because Jack is a numbers man, and that's her main responsibility. And how often she'd say, you had so many things at the table, she couldn't do anything. Maybe that was an excuse to go out to eat or not, but she certainly said, listen, you know, he's there. And, you know, when we go to our budget hearings, you know, he came prepared. He had so many boxes. I didn't think that this was right, that you hired your moving company to get him to him and come, but no. Listen, what a dedicated servant for the 4 years that you have been here. It is extraordinary what this Board of Commissioners have accomplished, and it was an honor to serve with you, Mr. Chairman, and you will be missed. But like I said before, 4 years go by quick. I will not be returning. Really quick. So don't call it quits. Just a little bit of leave of that.
You know, and Jack, I think also, or Commissioner Kernan, the way you've conducted the meetings and giving space to the public to speak is incredibly important, Because as elected officials, our job isn't just to put down the gavel. Our job is to think about what the founding fathers did when they set up, and the founding mothers, when they set up the government, right? It was a place to redress your grievances. It was a place to be able to come, and you've allowed people to come and speak, and that's extremely important because not only are they taxpayers, but they're citizens of the country, and they have the right to do that. And I think the fact that, you know, whether it's Todd or whoever else came, you've allowed people to speak, and you should realize that that's a positive thing. So thank you.
Just remember, not everybody gets trophies.
Not everybody gets flies.
But you will get a.
No, the stream.
And then 1 second, I want to get the solicitor and Mr. McDermott in also. This was the. Oh, did I took Jack's chair.
I'm sure you've got rooms at yours.
Public comment. Oh, my God, you. You're still here.
Oh, my God, I'm a good Catholic too. Watch what you say.
No, we have a
Listen.
3-minute rule. We probably ought to have a
Mr.
free time speaking.
Mr. Chairman, I have 2 minutes. I'm told by IS the tape goes off. But I got it.
Don't forget, we got chow at 12 o'clock.
When you, I have armed guards keeping the food open with Ann's staff, so, you know, with the list of the elected officials, Jack included, and you look at the fact that John and Ann and Franny, along with 4 elected officials, 214 years. And there's one that we didn't mention who didn't want recognition, but we'd be remiss if we didn't mention that we have Connie Rupert retiring after 19 years. And it's okay, that's why I'm here. I got your back. We got
An hour later,
we got, well, I want to pace myself. But the 214 years with Jack, 218 years, that's remarkable. And I have had relationships with this entire group, not always agreeing. I mean, I get that, but that's what democracy is about. I have to speak briefly about Ann. You know, early on, we had a bit of a rocky road, maybe like a Flintstone rocky road, but it got much better. She spent a lot of time with me in my lawsuits. You know, I've been about lawsuits my whole career here.
He stopped writing the emails with big red.
Yeah, well, I didn't know that capital letters meant I was yelling until she told me one day. IS never told me that. I didn't get an instruction book. She spent a lot of time with me when we were doing the lawsuit stuff. 5 of 5, we were 5 of 5 with being successful, and fortunately they were filed. But we spent a whole day in mediation at the federal building and time at her office and talking about how to deal with personnel. And probably as important, with staffing that we needed, Ann Garrett would move our staffing needs, and I would drive her nuts with my memos, as you guys know, with what I send you, with the urgency of our staffing, and she's always been there in that regard to help us. I did offer a job to her son to come back and work in the sheriff's office, so he's a great young man, and I just want to thank you, Ann, for your dedication. Jack, I'll make this very short. You've always been a gentleman. No matter how difficult the dialogue was, you and Commissioner Maribito and Commissioner Mercera have always recognized the needs that I have presented in some crazy, what seemingly crazy requests when I provide justification and work through it. This board has always supported the Sheriff's Office and our efforts to try to provide the level of security and safety for our people and for the public. And Jack, you were always the commissioner I get a note from at night, a note from in the morning, when you were at CCAP meeting or you heard about this, heard about that. You've always been the premier gentleman, and I appreciate that. I didn't get to know you until the past 4 years, but I thank you for your service and what you've done to help us and help the county.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Is that tape still on? Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Jack, I'd also like to thank you for your service. I look forward to coming in next year and working with the two incumbent commissioners. I'm excited this morning to hear a conversation about the 24/7 program. I've been involved in this program for a year before I retired, and within last year, there's been, wish I had my emails today from Judge Lavecchio that was sent out pushing for this program, and I'm glad to hear the discussions there on the table so we can have this conversation next year. That program alone will save $750,000 in the first year. It's being utilized in York County, Lancaster County. Our county has been down, I believe, on 2 occasions to watch it in the works with the president judge that runs it down there. A large percentage of the cases in Lycoming County are DUIs. A very large percentage. It's a major problem across the state. And this is a way to attack that population and need. It's a proven program. It's a fact that it does save money. I look forward to that. There's also another program I sat with a magistrate and talked to that can streamline the cases that will save $250,000 in 1 year. So there's $1 million savings right there. So I look forward to bringing these ideas and having this discussion after the first year with the commissioners. I wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Scott. Any other public comment?
Can I just make a comment? I just wanted to thank Commissioner McCurdy.
Come to the podium so that the can be
Every
heard.
department has a commissioner over them. Commissioner McKernan was was HR commissioner, and I just wanted to thank you for your support, and we work together a lot, and I know you're going to miss me.
Oh, yeah.
No. And by the way, you had me set a meeting up for you at 11:30.
Okay.
And
no, not unusual.
I know, so I'm going to go up and
See, hopefully he's still around.
hopefully he's still there.
Thank
Thank you. I enjoyed working with you, and have a happy Merry Christmas and happy holidays.
Thank you very much. And it's not that often. In fact, I really can't even think of having used the gavel, but we're going to declare this meeting is over, and I wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We'll see you next year. Wow.
Take that with you. Oh, that's with our other sources and uses, so when you look. Our limit is our actual expense, so the main makeup, so like ornaments.
So what do
I never thought that there'd be anything like that. So usually goes the way it's going. So that's my when you look here, our local meetings are 111. Our other uses, so money going out to special revenue funds, to other funds, is 7.8 small. And the total altogether is 119, 154, but the other sources and uses are, the other sources and uses are, you know, just us, our share, like you said, we're picking up a share of the levy project. So that's a use of funds from Act 13 and a source of funds for our special revenue. It's more or less just a record keeping, you know, tool on our part. So I would quote total expenses at the 111.
I guess I just want to make sure, like,
Yeah.
Yep, thank you.
Yeah,
I want to make sure people.
and that's the other uses of our funds, which, some of it's to our debt service, which.
So we would be spending,
Commissioner?
I mean, so that is.
Yes.
So it would be something.
So like, yeah, so our debt service is not accounted for in our general fund, but that's where the money comes from, to fund it. So we have our debt service fund over here with no income that has expenses going out. So what we do is we do an entry, so move the money over here to cover that and put the expense then on the general fund side. So it gets zeroed out over here and added in over here. So technically, yes, the 118 is our total layout, including, debt service, subsidies for grant matching,
Right, okay.
and-
But if you're talking about just, basic county,
yeah, that's where we get
and
that.
then you add on, what, about an extra 7 for debt service.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you have questions, just give Heather a call. It confuses most people, and we've never included the other sources and uses, but with that program, since it's part of our accounting, software, it includes it. And the commissioners actually, when we did our handout for public display, had us included as a total, but if you look at I guess the best way to do it is if you look at the overall deficit, with or without these, because they balance themselves out. So with or without them, the deficit's still the same. So, the sources of funds coming in
So this
and
doesn't
the uses
increase,
of funds.
it doesn't add to the deficit.
No.
Okay, so that's a good thing to know.
It's a source on one side and a use on the other, which zeroes itself out.
Okay,
So,
okay.
if that makes it a little easier to understand, I think. Yeah, you're welcome.
See you later.
Yeah, hey, when are you done?
Monday.
Okay.
Yeah, I got a lot of my stuff cleaned out, probably over the weekend I'll get the rest of it out.
Forward to relaxing a little bit?
I gotta get my business, I gotta get back on. I really gotta get back on. So, I kind of envision putting a lot of effort there in the first 3-4 months to get the sense of things that I haven't touched with. More time. I mean, I'll definitely have more time, so that'll be welcome.
Well, I always appreciated, you were always open and honest and willing to
No,
talk
you were
about
fair.
everything,
You
so.
were fair, yeah. So that was a two-way street.
Yeah. You gotta have that.
Thank you.
Best of luck, I'm sure we'll chat again.
Oh, yeah.